The thing I liked about Anna Wilson was her air, the way she carried herself, proud as a poodle, kind of prancy. She walked like she knew where she was going, and she had that smile on her face that punched in a dimple, one in either cheek. She'd seen me in that 8 o'clock class, and she'd smiled. Not a mocking smile, not a smile of amusement or pity. It was a nice sort of friendly smile, and I smiled back the best I could. I saw her at a school dance. When I asked her what she liked to do, she said she was learning to play tennis. And I said, well, I like to play tennis too. And so we met the following morning at 6 o'clock at the tennis courts. I'd never played the game. Very soon I came to realize that we had not come to play tennis. We'd come to carry on where we paused the night before. I swung at the ball and missed, and then I missed again and again, and when I couldn't hit the first ball, I had to do something. I ran to the net and jumped over, and I took Anna Fidelia Wilson in my arms, and I kissed her, and after that there was no turning back. To that move I can trace every act, every decision, nearly every agony, every one of my children, most of the compelling forces of my life, the very metamorphosis of my being. I can also trace to that exact instant the rebirth of the man known as Jerry Spence. From that moment we were inseparable. I could not live without Anna. She introduced me to parts of me I had never known, showed me wondrous things about me. She found me different, exciting, engaging, creative, handsome and sexy, she said. I thought she was blind. She loved me, and I did love her. Love is how we feel toward those who show us that which is lovable about ourselves. Ah, Anna Fidelia Wilson, when she smiled at me the angels sang. She wore expensive clothes, and oh, she was stylish, and I, this nobody, this commoner, had somehow attracted her. I must be somebody after all. With Anna Fidelia Wilson I was somebody. I called her Sugar. Whatever we had together, and we called it love, was a magical potion that had rendered me, the ugly, beautiful. Anna was the adopted daughter of the H.R. Wilson family. H.R. was a solid, balding man in his late 50s who, although he was a strong man, had the right amount of gentleness to him. Next to my father, he was the most wise, decent, and honorable man I have ever known, and I loved him. H.R. Wilson had met and married Mabel when he was a man past 40, and she was foxy and young. She was tall, wispy, pretty as showgirls are pretty. She was also exciting, worldly, alive, impetuous, and she laughed and hollered and screamed and butchered the king's English, and you could hear her coming a mile away in city traffic. She smoked long cigarettes and swore like a drill sergeant, and she often drank whiskey of an evening before dinner. She'd had little education, hadn't seemed to need much. She had 2 closets full of expensive dresses and 100 pairs of high-heeled shoes, a large opulent home, and 2 cars, a DeSoto and an Oldsmobile. Mabel was one of those women who had the power to make a man feel as if he were the greatest gift to the universe since Clark Gable. According to Mabel, I was intelligent beyond words, exquisitely handsome and wonderfully funny. She called me her son, and I loved her too. I spent the summer of 1947 in the hayfields of the old Fred Boyce Ranch outside of Cheyenne. Anna was working as a secretary for the Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce. That fall I went back to school. But Anna had been exiled by her parents to Denver in a last-ditch hope that if they could pry these mating beasts apart, perhaps Anna would apply herself to something, anything, even to the business of being a secretary. Maybe she could learn shorthand and bookkeeping and become an expert typist, make something of herself. They had enrolled her in Barnes Business College in Denver, but the plan wasn't working. Anna saved her food allowance to come see me. When she'd saved enough, she'd grab the bus to Laramie. Half sick from starvation and from love, Anna wasn't doing well at Barnes Business College either. Anna and I had talked about getting married. Mr. Wilson had given up on her education. He couldn't keep us apart. Anna couldn't concentrate at school, and had come home at the end of the school year and never gone back. She was working as a secretary. They might as well get married, Mr. Wilson said. What else can a father do? We were both 19. I figured I could get married in my Levi's, but a man should wear a suit to his wedding, especially if the bride was to make her march on the arm of her father down the long hall of the Methodist Church in her white gown, dragging behind her a long train of satin. And so I bought a blue serge suit, J.C. Penney's, a red silk tie with a painted feather, a white shirt, and new black shoes. I married Anna Fidelia Wilson on the 20th day of June, 1948. I don't remember repeating the vows. I don't remember kissing the bride or slipping the ring on her finger or her slipping one on mine. I have no memory of the reception or cutting the cake. I remember nothing at all until all at once I found myself driving through the rain in Mr. Wilson's new DeSoto, which I had borrowed for our honeymoon, and sitting proudly next to me was Anna, my new bride. I was a man, all right, just as my mother had said, and those who said a 19-year-old was just a kid had never met me. Our plan called for a honeymoon under the stars in the Snowy Range Mountains a few miles south of Laramie, romantic and very cheap. It was raining, but it didn't matter. We were in love, and the rain would go away. I had intended to search out a secluded spot by a murmuring stream, chop some pine boughs with my hatchet, spread my bedroll gently over the boughs, lay down my love with tenderness and joy, and there launch the matrimonial ship. We had brought some potatoes and some Hershey chocolate bars. We were ready. But the rain and the fog. I turned onto a small dirt road, but the roadway was flooded, and suddenly the DeSoto was stuck in the mud. I looked around. Through the rain I could see, as in the story of Goldilocks, a small cabin in the trees. "Come on," I said. We ran for the cabin. It was locked. I broke out a small pane of glass in the door, reached in, and opened the latch from the inside. "Enter, my princess," I declared. The cabin was a one-room log structure, a bed in the corner, dry kindling stacked behind a pot-bellied stove in the center of the room. I built a fire, and when the place was warm and the coals were glowing, I threw in the potatoes, after which we feasted on a wedding supper of roasted potatoes and Hershey bars. In the morning we began to make up the bed. Then I found out something I didn't know about some women. They want their beds made in a certain way. "Make the corners square like this," she said. "What for?" I asked. "Because that's the way you do it. You can make your corners square. I don't like square people, and I don't like square corners." "They make square corners in a hospital," she said. "This isn't a hospital," I said. "They make square corners in a 4-star hotel." "I suppose this is a 4-star hotel," I said. Suddenly she rushed over to my side of the bed and pushed me aside to make the corner square herself. "You are a son of a bitch," she hissed through her teeth. As certain benign chemicals blow up when joined, what followed in that innocent cabin was the first of an endless series of spontaneous explosions that the union would suffer, mostly over matters of little more consequence than making corners square. Memories can be kind, and mine has dimmed as dynamite dust settles into the timeless void. But I remember in its clearing that Anna was crying. Then I went to her and pulled her to me, and I held her, and she wept and I wept, and after that we made the bed corners square. "I always did like square corners, sugar," I said. She laughed, and I wiped her tears away. When we left, I put a piece of cardboard over the broken pane to keep the weather out, and I wrote a note to the owners and left it on the kitchen table with $2 to pay for the small pane of glass I'd broken. The rain had stopped, and the day was bright. I freed the DeSoto from the mud, and my bride and I headed down the road to Laramie, to life in all of its exuberant abundance.